All right, everyone. Thank you so much, and welcome to a very special live broadcast here of the Kirby on Comics podcast. My name is Jeremy Kirby, and I'm going to go over some just downright awesome art with you guys today, and I'm very excited that you're all here. Thank you guys all so much for joining me. Hopefully you can hear me as we go along. We do have some amazing kind of artwork to show you. And we'll kind of jump right into it. As I'm going along, I will answer a few questions. A lot of people sent their kind of questions in ahead of time, so I'll maybe get to those first. But if you do have some questions for me, I will try to answer them as we go along as well. And of course, if any of you would like more information about my grandfather, Jack Kirby, please check out the Jack Kirby Museum. The guys do an amazing job. And they are like family to me. So I suggest everyone watching, whether you're watching live or you're seeing this recorded, please go ahead and Google the Jack Kirby Museum and head over there because they do some tremendous work in helping keep my grandfather's legacy alive. So I'd like to personally thank them all. So let's kind of get into some of the artwork as we go along, and I hope that you guys really enjoy what I'm doing here with you. And I'm just going to kind of talk as we throw some of the artwork on. Now, if you are watching on Twitter, go ahead on Twitter Live. Half of this broadcast is going to be only available on Facebook Live. Reason why, I have a cool slideshow with a lot of pictures, which I can't get on Twitter. So if you're watching on Twitter, you're going to want to head over to Facebook, find me. It's Jack Kirby, King of Comics, or Jack Kirby : the King of Comics. Make sure that you find me there, and that way I want to make sure you guys don't miss some great Kirby pictures. So there you go. All right, everyone. So I'm just going to toss some art out there as we go along. First things here, just a few neat little things. And by the way, what you're looking at in the background, this is actually a huge print that was part of our last Jack Kirby care package, which I'll show you guys what they are if you don't know in a little bit. This thing's about 3 feet wide. It's a full replica of the amazing original artwork my grandfather did in 1980. So again, later on in his life, just an amazing piece of art, both in the foreground, background, some great sci-fi action. So just wanted to put that out there for you guys as well. So again, I'm just going to I'm going to throw on a few of these little pictures. What you're going to be looking at, that's Silver Surfer right there. Some of these were done for old Kirby portfolios. Some of them were done for Marvel Mania as well, if you guys have seen. So again, we have Silver Surfer, we have Captain America. This picture actually right here, Captain America, it's still on my sister's wall, or it was last I checked. So just an amazing piece there. Which was wonderful. So I'll keep kind of going on around. Here we have Brooklyn from the Boy Commandos as well. And again, these are some of the original, these little cutouts. This is what was used for reproduction in a Kirby. It was one of the magazines that did some of the portfolios that had come out, which is wonderful. So there you go. One of my favorite, the Incredible Hulk as well. And, of course, Dr. Doom. And, yes, absolutely, Jonathan, long live the king. Absolutely there. Thank you all for joining. Hello there. Shout out to my wife, Kathy, who's watching, her sister, Ty, and Scott. Thank you all. Rand Hoppy, thank you, guys. It's great to have you with us. And I hope you guys enjoy this. So we'll kind of go along. So one of the questions that I get asked a lot was, it's actually interesting. It's kind of what my grandfather would watch, like movie-wise, right? So one of the questions someone just asked me actually yesterday is what movies did he like watching? Well, obviously, I came around in the late 70s, 80s, so of course he had quite a bit of years before then of enjoying the movies. I can tell you what we used to sit down and watch a lot of, anything action. Charles Bronson, Chuck Norris, even early Schwarzenegger stuff. He actually took me to see, the Total Recall, which he realized about 10 minutes into the movie that he probably shouldn't have taken me to see that. as it was violent. I was young, but I loved it, and he did too. So a lot of those kind of action movies, quite a bit. You know, he did like some of the war movies as well, but didn't seem to really want to dwell on them too much as well, which is great. All right, so here's something probably 99% of you have never seen before, which is kind of cool. And I'm going to try to put it in a frame there. Let's see if you can see it. I know the camera's a little bit behind me there. So what this is it's a convention brochure. So it is an actual convention brochure. This is from the original Disneyland, that con back there, 1971. 1971, guys. So what does that mean? Well, then that's probably one of the very first pictures there, Mr. Miracle, as well, which is pretty cool. As you can see, the seven dwarfs there kind of behind them, tugging on the chain there, which is pretty neat. So again, an original Disneyland convention brochure, one of the first times that people actually saw Mr. Miracle, and for some of my Kirby aficionados, you guys probably know, also one of the first places that my grandfather took some of those presentation pieces for the New Gods. So we're talking Mr. Miracle, Dark Side, Orion. I have those. I'll show everyone in a future podcast as well. But again, this is neat because this is something that's very rare. So I hope that you guys kind of enjoy that picture. And I will try to get as many high quality scans up on websites as possible. And these are the type of things that I like to include copies of on some of the things that I can anyway, in some of those Jack Kirby care packages that we do, which is of course the package that go out with some of those prints in them, which is pretty neat. So I'm going to take these off real fast before we get to some other cool things. And I apologize if there's connection. We have a lot of people joining in on us, so hopefully the bandwidth is good. Hopefully the bandwidth is good, everyone. And if not, we'll fix it up for the next podcast as well. So bear with me, guys. If it goes out, stick around, and we have some cool new things to show. So again, I do get questions a lot, obviously, about what the Jack Kirby care package is. It's something I started doing about a year ago and was able to bring for all Kirby fans. I'm going to move it into view here. You guys will be able to see. These are the new boxes. So that's the actual box that they come in. And what these are is these are basically just fan packages that have sometimes things owned by my grandfather, Captain Victory comic books going from the 80s, some other stuff from the 70s. Sometimes they have stats, just some neat reproductions. And then recently, and a big shout out to everyone at DC Comics, they are allowing us to include some prints of my grandfather's most famous characters at DC, which is pretty neat. So I will open that up. And this is kind of what the contents of the care package would look like. Give me 1 second. I'll go ahead. And I am going to just put that up on the screen real fast for you guys to see. I don't have a direct linkable thing, but anyone who's listening now, if you go there later on, throw in that code Kirby10. It gives you 10% off, which is nice. But they're just gorgeous reproductions of some New Gods artwork. So, or DC artwork there that my grandfather did. That they were nice enough to allow me to bring to you, so I'm very thankful as well. So this is one of the original paintings there for Mr. Miracle when he was testing out. My grandfather was testing out some of the color schemes, which was neat. Of course, gorgeous one. All the prints are 11 by 17, and then of course the Armageddon page. So an original penciled piece or a print thereof of Armageddon. And there you go. So wanted to take a moment just to discuss and let you guys know what's in the packages. There's always cool little things, bumper stickers. I always try to include some form of a comic book in there. So just a lot of fun things for fans. So I know obviously times are tough right now, but if you'd like to check that out, it's on the screen. Feel free to go there, get the packages. They're awesome. And I thank you guys so much who have been doing them. They've just been a huge success and a huge hit. So I'm glad that I've been able to showcase those for you guys. So thank you. I'll leave the website up there for another minute. But I do have some awesome stuff I wanted to get to now. My grandfather did a lot of coloring of stats. There you go, a lot of coloring of stats. This is a Skymaster stat. I showed one of these last week, but you can actually see, so this was a stat, which is a photo stat, or photocopy of the original artwork that my grandfather then went in and colored. So you can actually see the colors for something that was originally in black and white, which is awesome. So that's a great one right there. And there you go. Very cool, guys. I'm just reading some of the comments, which is nice. Favorite sports teams, so foods, etc. Thanks, Chris. So sports team. I wish that he would have watched sports with me a little bit more. I can tell you he always had his trusty Yankees cap on. I don't think he could tell you one person that was actually on the Yankees, but he always had his trusty Yankees cap on, obviously, as well, which was great. And yeah, so sports teams, food as well, you know, the basic stuff. I'd always force him to take me to Carl's Jr. here on the West Coast. Funny anecdote to that is that he would leave his hat, that Yankees hat, all over town. So there's probably about 100 Jack Kirby Yankees hats around Thousand Oaks, California, because he would leave them basically in every restaurant that we go to, numerous times in that Carl's Jr. right there in TO. So there you go. So great question. Thank you so much. Next up, guys, and I'll make sure this is on. There we go. I think you can see. I'm going to take down some of the code now. I'm going to leave the bar at the bottom though, because again, in a few minutes, I'm going to switch over to Facebook Live only. So if you're watching this on Twitter, try to make your way over. Find me on Facebook, Jack Kirby, the King of Comics, because I'm going to have some pictures, some family pictures and everything up, and it's going to be only available through there. So keep that in mind. What you are looking at right now, fantastic 4-page, uninked. Just some awesome artwork that I wanted to show you guys, which is great. I'm going to push this up a little. Hopefully you can see the whole thing there a little bit better. There we go. Beautiful. So again, that is a fantastic 4 stat. It's a fantastic 4 stat. And there you go, guys. Right on. And I'm going to move along because I can just keep talking for hours here. Another one for you. These are a little later on, right? So those are going to be, what, mid to late 70s when my grandfather went back to Marvel after his tremendous time over at DC. So again, it's kind of neat to see some of the way that the art changed, the people that he worked on changed. Now, I always get a question always comes up, did he enjoy working on characters that weren't his own, that he didn't have a hand in creating, stuff like Batman or Superman? You know, I wouldn't say that he did or didn't. I can say that he enjoyed, obviously, working in his own sandbox, if you know what I'm saying. So I think, and you can see it even in his own comic books, where literally he would rather create something new. He'd rather create a new character than continuously do the same, you know, Superman, or the same, or if it's his own, you know, the same Fantastic Four, the same Silver Surfer. You know, he'd want to keep going and create something new, and you see that there throughout, which is great. Okay, a famous piece here. This was actually, some of these were included in the Marvel Mania. Here's the back of it. It was a kind of a Jack Kirby bio. And again, there's the big, amazing piece of artwork he did of all the Marvel characters that he had a hand in creating there. Hopefully you can see that. So I'll leave that one up for a moment. And again, just a wonderful piece. That is one of the originals back there from when they had printed it. But a wonderful piece because, again, it's my grandfather at the drawing board. You can see really the love that he had for his creations and his co-creations, and just literally jumping off the page. But more so than the creations jumping off the page, it's really just his imagination. You know, it's literally his imagination jumping off the page, because that to me is what it signifies, which is awesome. So I'm going to leave that up for few more seconds there. Right on. And thank you guys for just joining as well. I appreciate it, which is good. Cool. And Rand had a little bit of trivia there. He's saying that was the very first Kirby art inked by Mike Royer. So there you go. That is so cool. So all my obviously Kirby fans out there, Mike Royer, just a tremendous inker and did a lot with my grandfather on, again, just spanning lots of years, which was wonderful. There you go. I think in my next podcast too, I have some cool pictures that he's in as well. So maybe I'll be able to share those, which would be nice. Next up, this is a later from Superpowers. You're looking at Metron. So, and again, if the camera is broadcasting a little behind, I'll leave everything up. Don't worry. But this is Metron from the New Gods. This was taken from Superpowers. I like to show these because they're uninked. It's kind of neat to be able to see what the original art looked like. Now, again, this is from the 80s, so this was, really kind of towards the end of my grandfather doing a lot of comic book work, right? So he was still doing some animation, and I will do an entire podcast showcasing hundreds of animation stats where they are literally just creations that he was just flowing through. We will get to that. But again, here we go, Metron. And back to the other question, or the other about other characters. Sorry, I'll put that one right here. One of my favorites, and again, I had shown this a week or so before. This was again late '80s art or middle '80s art, but it is my grandfather drawing some of his, some of the DC creations, right? So we have Batman, we have Superman, Wonder Woman, Hawkman. People that you wouldn't really think of Jack Kirby doing, because he didn't get to do them often, but it was real neat to be able to see that. Now, someone had asked a question about what my thoughts are on Comic-Con being canceled, and it's real interesting that they happen to ask that now. Thank you, Ty. Because the next piece of art, and I put this one in there because of today's news, hopefully I wasn't the one to break it to you, that Comic-Con has been canceled. I put this right here. This was a piece that my grandfather had done back for Comic-Con. When was that? 15th annual, so 84, 85. And there you go. So yeah, Comic-Con, it was canceled really for the first time ever. Obviously here in California, it's a wise decision because there's 100,000 people packed in that place. So I think it was a tough decision to make. We're all sad. I've been going since I was 0, right? So I've been to almost every single one. So quite a few of them. And if you ever see me there, please come up and say hello as well. So we are all very sad about it. But you know what? It'll be back in a year. I guarantee it'll be back bigger and better than ever. And but great question. So thank you. And I will keep going a little here. I'll go a little bit faster with some of the art. Again, this was a Mr. Miracle page. You can kind of see up at the top here on there as well what we're looking at. It's some of the original writing, so you can kind of see a fourth world epic, the Great Scot-Free Escape. So some of the original stuff up there on the photostat. And we got another one here. Another Mr. Miracle stat for you there, which is pretty cool. So, and the reason why we have so many photo stats, unfortunately, versus the artwork is, for my grandfather, it didn't it wasn't always possible to get all the pieces of art back, right? No matter who he worked for. But also sometimes he'd have to sell them, or sometimes they'd use them for other reasons. But if he had that photo stat of the artwork, he was always able to go back to know what either a book was about, or just have it for posterity, as well. So that's why I was able to save so many of those photo stats that are still available today, which is nice. And I know they're real light because these ones are the original stats, so they're very old. Here's Sandman. So this was Sandman when he had gone back to DC, and they did another Sandman story. I believe, and I might be wrong, I think Joe Simon came back for that as well, which was pretty cool, or at least one of those books. I believe he came back to help out with as well, which is good. So you're looking at a Sandman stat there, which is nice. And we are going to go through and take a look at OMAC. This was, of course, OMAC One-Man Army Corps, which is neat. Now, one of the things that I wanted to do for the next podcast as well, because we are going to go live every 2 weeks, and in fact, I'll start to do an unveiling of the next Jack Kirby Care package that I showed earlier. We'll be going live with that as well, with the next one, about 2 weeks when that comes out. But what I wanted to do is basically every 2 weeks, some of you out there are tremendous artists yourself. Some of you are amazing inkers as well. So I want to see some of your best OMACs. I'd love to see some people drop some OMACs. Don't send them to me, but you can send me pictures of them, of course. I don't want any of the originals or anything like that. But please, if you have some old OMAC art that you've ever drawn, that you've ever inked, you want to show the world there, I'd love to pick out a few, show them on screen, because I would like to focus a little bit on OMAC for our next podcast as well. So, any of my aspiring artists out there or professional artists, show me what you got as well. I would love to put them up too, which is great. And again, for those of you on Twitter, I'm going to be switching over to Jack Kirby, the King of Comics, on Facebook. So if you're watching me on Twitter, you're going to want to head over there in just a few minutes. I have a few last pieces of art, and then I'll show a few pictures as well, take a few questions too. So we all think of my grandfather's, his superhero characters. Amazing at creating superheroes. You know, he defined a generation of what it's like, what a superhero looks like. You know, both the hero, the heroine, the villain, you know, all of that. But that wasn't always his drawing style. He could adapt it to different things. So what I'll put on here, and you guys should be able to see it in a second, and a lot of you might have seen this one before. My sister actually still has a few of the fairy drawings, but this is Jack Kirby art. These are Jack Kirby drawings, and they are fairy drawings and troll drawings, and just a lot more of a fantastic type of art. It's very smooth, a little bit more feminine. It's just very kind of soft, I would say, compared to what he normally would have done, which is pretty neat. So you can see them here. And again, this is some of the fairy tale drawings that he did. So if you thought that Jack Kirby only did superheroes or even romance books, right? I know he was quite a bit of romance books there. But no, also he was able to do some fantasy, and he was actually very good at drawing that out. So it's just a great page that I hope you guys enjoy. All right, one more colored Sky Masters art here I'm going to put on for you guys to enjoy. So again, with the Sky Masters, if you are just kind of joining in, Sky Masters art, this was a newspaper strip that my grandfather had done. And normally these appeared in black and white, but he did go through and color some of those strips. So this was a stat or photocopy of the original artwork, but the coloring itself is real. So this is the actual coloring there on the actual stat that they had done. Which is beautiful. So I really like the vibrant. You'll see, and maybe it was the time frame, or maybe it was just the way, you know, with the printing, they needed very vibrant colors. But I've noticed that you'll see a lot of reds and yellows. And again, that could be done because it's just, those were the color, you know, the RGB, right? You know, red, green, blue, that type of thing. But you'll see a lot of that color in there, and it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous piece. And I know in Spain, Fair and Delgado, they had done a wonderful book for Sky Masters where it includes some of these colored pieces, and just a tremendous book. So be on the lookout for it out there if you can as well. Always like to give a shout out to other people out there. Okay, I have a few more, and then I will do a few pictures for you, and then I'll let you guys get going. I know this goes by so fast, but I appreciate everyone for being here with me. One more, Captain Victory, 1981. Real cool drawing there. And again, Captain Victory. Black and white pencil piece, which is cool. So I wanted to grab that and show you. I have a few more, but I think maybe I'll give you maybe just a sneak peek, and then maybe we'll get to them on the next podcast when I can actually do more of a Q&A. We can actually talk and do some more things like that as well. So I will go through. I know there was a question on the color. I'm not. I know there were Doc Martin inks and other stuff. It's funny because I used to play, with the actual colors. Like they'd have the the droppers. You drop them on. It was a whole set there that he had right next to his to the drawing table there. But a good question, which is wonderful. So I'll give you a little sneak peek of just some other things. A few things we have is, and again, sorry guys, I will save it for the next podcast as well, because hey, it gives us something to talk about, right? We have everything from film premises. So this is the Heroes of Genesis. It is an epic tale of swashbuckling, action-oriented characters of cosmic origin who could well be the grain of truth within man's many legends of the ancient past. Sold, right? There you go. Hollywood's next big blockbuster. So there you are. But I will go over those a little. Some of these scripts, by the way, do make their way into the Kirby Care packages. Not the original, but copies of them so that you guys can read through. There's a wonderful play out there that I put out that my grandfather had written as well. And then last real fun little thing I'll kind of put down here. Just a fun little book. These came out, I think, in the 60s, right? Fantastic Four. And they kind of reprinted some of the characters. Whenever you're looking at something that my grandfather ever owned, always look inside because you never know what you're going to find. So again, this was just kind of sitting there in a box. Fantastic Four. And as you can see there, we have he did sign this one, which was awesome. Every once in a while, he did a little bit more. And there you go. So just a wonderful drawing of the thing, which, as most of you know, is one of my grandfather's, not like precious characters, but one that he put a lot of himself into, we'd say. And anytime I find anything like this, it's just so awesome to be able to see. So you never know what you're going to find in some of those books, but just a real cool one there, which is wonderful. And again, a lot of these stats, a lot of these books, everything else, these were just literally found at the bottom of boxes, when clearing out houses and everything else. So it's so awesome that I still have so many of these, which is great. So that's wonderful. So what I'm going to do for my Twitter people, again, try to find me over on Facebook. It's Jack Kirby, the King of Comics. Find me over there. I do have about 10, 12 pictures I want to share with everyone. Some of them you guys have seen before. Some of them you might not have. I'll be happy to take a few questions as we go along, and we will go from there. So Facebook people, give me 1 second as I switch them over. I will be right back. And Twitter guys, please join us on Facebook. Thank you so much for joining me on Twitter, though. Love you all. Jack Kirby fans are the best in the world, so I appreciate everyone being here with me today. Thank you, Twitter, Facebook. I will be, stay tuned. I'll be back in about 5 seconds. We'll keep this live. Okay, so we are going to switch over in a second there. I'm just making sure. I know the video is a little bit behind where I'm at here, so it should switch over for you. And we got a lot of pictures to show, actually. I got about 10 or 12 of them. You're going to see, there we go. So you're going to see pictures of my grandfather when he was either in World War II, some of them previous or prior to World War II, some of them right after, and of course some of my favorite ones, him chilling in the 70s in a friend's basement. So one I see up on screen, of course, it's one of the great ones. My grandfather overlooking Thousand Oaks in the backyard. You'll see one with him holding me there. I have a lot more hair now than I did in that picture. And of course, some great ones with my grandfather and my grandmother, which is wonderful. And I will let these run on here. If you guys have any questions, feel free to throw them on. I'll try to get to a few more before logging off. But it's so awesome that you guys are able to join with me today, everyone, so thank you. I know there's going to be a kind of a crooked one there, a right side tilting to the left, but that's the original Mr. Miracle drawing. My grandfather had it on his drawing board and took a picture with that.